The sound hit first, a scream, sharp and wet, like metal scraping bone, then silence. I ran outside barefoot, the cold concrete biting into my feet. Karen was there, kneeling by my mailbox, her hand trembling, blood dripping onto the curb like slow rain. The world froze for a second, her eyes wide, my breath gone, the streetlights flickering. I didn't know what happened yet, but I knew it was bad. Real bad. They say curiosity kills cats. In our neighborhood, it kills trust. And tonight, it almost killed Karen. But before I tell you how my HOA neighbor ended up bleeding on my lawn, you need to understand one thing. This street looks perfect. The lawns are trimmed. The fences are white. But behind every smile lives a secret, and behind mine lived a trap. Stay till the end, because the choice I made that night, between justice and humanity, still haunts me every time I check my mail. You wouldn't believe it, but this street looked like paradise. White fences, clean sidewalks, the smell of freshly cut grass every morning. But it wasn't paradise. It was a prison built on fake smiles and HOA rules. My name's Mark, and I moved here 2 years ago thinking I'd found peace. I was wrong. The HOA controlled everything. How tall your grass could be, what color your curtains were, even how long your car could sit in the driveway. Miss one payment, and they'd threaten to fine you, shame you, destroy you. And at the heart of it all was Karen, the self-appointed queen of control. She wasn't officially on the board, but everyone knew she pulled the strings. Her word was law. Karen watched everything. From her window, from her porch, sometimes from behind that stupid little hedge that never grew above her knees. She'd appear out of nowhere just to comment on your trash bins, your mailbox, your life. I tried to stay polite, I really did. But she kept pushing, always pushing. The first time she touched my mail, I let it slide. Maybe it was an accident, I told myself. Maybe she was just checking something. But then it happened again, and again. My packages started disappearing. My letters came already opened. One day, I caught her red-handed, standing by my mailbox with her hand halfway inside. When I confronted her, she smiled. "I'm just keeping the neighborhood safe," she said. Safe from what? My electric bill, my mother's birthday card. She had this way of twisting every situation until you felt like the crazy one. That's when I realized she wasn't just nosy, she was dangerous. Coming up, I'll tell you what happened when I finally decided to fight back. But before that, you need to know something about me. See, I wasn't the kind of guy to pick fights. I worked nights, kept to myself, barely spoke to anyone. My life was quiet, predictable, until Karen made it her mission to destroy that quiet. I started seeing her everywhere. In the grocery store, by my car, standing across the street pretending to walk her dog. She didn't even have a dog. People in the neighborhood whispered about her, but nobody dared to confront her, because if you did, your trash would mysteriously not get picked up, your HOA fees would suddenly increase, your fence would be declared too high, or your paint color too off-white. She had power, and she knew it. So I played along, for months, smiling, waving, pretending not to notice her staring at me. But inside, I was boiling. You can only watch someone invade your life for so long before something snaps. One evening, I found a letter missing. Again, it was something important, something personal. I knew it wasn't the mailman, and deep down, I knew exactly who it was. I wanted proof. I wanted to catch her in the act, make her feel the fear she'd been spreading for years. That's when the idea came. A trap. Not to hurt, just to teach her a lesson. A warning, that's all. I remember sitting in my garage, staring at the small metal mousetrap in my hand. It looked harmless, simple, but it meant control. My control. I coated it lightly with oil so it wouldn't rust, then hid it deep inside the mailbox, right behind the letters. I told myself it was just protection, nothing more. Coming up, I'll show you what happened the next morning, when curiosity finally met consequence. But even as I set the trap, something inside me whispered, "You're crossing a line, Mark." And maybe I was. But when you live in a cage built by other people's rules, breaking one feels like freedom. That night, I barely slept. Every creak of the house made me jump. Every gust of wind sounded like footsteps. I kept replaying it in my head. Her scream, her face, her hand. Except, none of that had happened yet. But somehow, I already felt it. Like a premonition. By sunrise, the world outside was silent. Too silent. And as I walked to the end of my driveway, Heart pounding. I saw it. The mailbox door. Slightly open. Something had happened. And I knew, deep down, that nothing would ever be the same again. The morning air was heavy, thick with that eerie calm before something breaks. I remember stepping outside with my coffee, still half asleep, still telling myself that the trap was harmless, just a deterrent, just to scare her. But the second I saw the mailbox door hanging open, my stomach dropped. Something wasn't right. The coffee slipped from my hand. The mug shattered, echoing down the quiet street like a warning bell. My breath caught when I saw it. Red, a thin smear of blood across the white metal of the box. My mailbox looked like it was bleeding. For a second, I thought I was imagining it, but then I saw the glove, torn, stuck inside the hinge, with a small piece of something human. It felt like the world stopped spinning. The wind died. Even the birds went silent. My name's Mark, in case you forgot. And this is the moment everything changed. The moment I realized my plan worked. Too well. I heard the scream before I saw her. Karen. From across the street, she stumbled out from behind her hedge, clutching her hand. Her face white as chalk. Blood dripped through her fingers, staining her pastel sweater. She screamed again. This horrible, broken sound that didn't even sound human. Neighbors came out one by one, curious at first, then horrified. I could feel their eyes on me, on her, on the mailbox. Nobody spoke. The whole street was frozen in shock, and in that moment, I wasn't sure if I was the victim or the villain. She looked at me like she knew, like she felt my guilt. You, she yelled, her voice shaking. You did this, and maybe I did, but she didn't have proof. Not yet. Coming up, I'll tell you what happened when the HOA arrived. But right then, I just stood there, unable to move, unable to think. My heart was pounding so hard, I could hear it in my ears. I wanted to help her, to do something, but my body froze. Someone called an ambulance. Someone else started filming. Of course, they did. Because when you live in an HOA neighborhood, drama spreads faster than blood. Karen sat on the curb, shaking, crying, her hand wrapped in a kitchen towel someone brought from inside. I could see it, the finger, or what was left of it. It was bad, really bad. And all I could think was, I didn't mean for this. But intent doesn't matter when there's blood on your mailbox. The paramedics arrive, flashing lights painting a perfect lawns in red and blue. They asked what happened. I said I didn't know. My voice cracked, but I stuck to the story. I just came outside and saw her like this. They didn't believe me. I could see it in their faces. The HOA president, a man named Richard, arrived minutes later, all puffed up and self-important. He loved chaos, as long as it wasn't his own. This is unacceptable, he barked, pointing at me like a prosecutor. We will have to investigate this incident thoroughly. His tone made it clear. I was already guilty in his eyes. Karen glared at me as they loaded her into the ambulance. You'll pay for this, Mark, she hissed. Her voice cracked, but her eyes burned with something darker than pain. Vengeance. As the ambulance drove off, the crowd started to disperse. But the look stayed. Neighbors whispering, filming, pretending not to. I could already feel the story spreading. Mark, the guy who maimed Karen. When I went back inside, the silence felt heavier than ever. Every sound was amplified. The hum of the fridge, the tick of the clock, the faint buzz of my phone lighting up with notifications. Someone had already posted it online. Of course they had. Local HOA incident. Woman injured by mailbox. Coming up, I'll show you what happened when the police came knocking. But before that, I'll tell you something I've never said out loud. When I saw her blood, I didn't just feel guilt. I felt relief, like the balance had finally shifted, like justice had finally bit back. And that thought scared me more than anything, because if I could feel relieved watching someone bleed, maybe Karen wasn't the only monster on this street. That night, I cleaned the mailbox, slowly, carefully, every drop of blood, every smear. But no matter how much I scrubbed, I could still see it. The stain, the proof, the moment I lost control. The next morning, I woke up to a knock at the door. 2 officers, serious faces, no smiles. Mr. Miller, one asked, we need to talk about what happened yesterday. And that's when I knew. The real nightmare was just beginning. The knock felt heavier than it should. 3 sharp hits that rattled through my ribs. I opened the door, and there they were. 2 cops in uniform, hands on their belts, eyes already full of quiet suspicion. My coffee was still untouched. My heart wasn't, Mr. Miller, the taller one said, flashing his badge. We're investigating an incident involving your neighbor, Karen Blake. His tone was flat, rehearsed, like he'd already said it a dozen times that morning. I nodded, pretending to be calm. Yeah, I heard she got hurt. He looked past me into the house. Mind if we come in? He didn't wait for an answer. They stepped in, their boots leaving small wet marks on the hardwood floor. The house suddenly felt too small, the walls too close. I kept telling myself to breathe, act normal, don't give them a reason to dig deeper. But my brain was a mess. Every sound felt amplified. The ticking clock, the hum of the fridge, the faint squeak of their gloves as they opened their notebooks. The shorter officer spoke next. Ms. Blake claims you tampered with your mailbox. Possibly rigged it with a device. His words came slow, careful, like he was watching my face for cracks. I forced a laugh. A device, you mean? Like a bomb or something, he replied. Coming up, I'll tell you the one sentence that almost got me arrested, but right now, all I could do was stall. I have no idea what she's talking about, I said. She's been harassing me for months. Maybe she finally slipped up. The taller cop flipped a page in his notebook. So you're saying she injured herself? I'm saying she shouldn't have been near my mailbox in the first place. The silence that followed was brutal. 10 seconds that felt like 10 years. I could hear my pulse in my ears. Then the taller one asked, mind if we take a look at the mailbox? My stomach turned. Sure, I said, trying to sound casual. My mouth was dry as dust. We stepped outside. The sun was too bright. The street was too quiet. Neighbors peeked through blinds like vultures watching for a carcass to twitch. The cops examined the mailbox, the clean metal, the fresh polish, the hinge still a little bent. One of them crouched down, running a gloved finger along the inside. Looks like it's been recently cleaned, he said. Yeah, I replied. Birds. You know. He didn't laugh. Neither did I. For a second, I thought they'd found something. My chest tightened. My hands clenched. But then the taller cop stood up and just said, all right, Mr. Miller. We'll file the report and follow up. I nodded, pretending that the air didn't just return to my lungs. As they left, the taller one stopped halfway down the path. If you remember anything else, he said, call us. And stay available. The words lingered like a warning. I shut the door and leaned against it, feeling the weight of everything collapse on my shoulders. My phone buzzed again. This time, a text from an unknown number. You think you've won. Karen. Coming up. What I found on my doorstep the next day will make you question who the real victim was. That night, I couldn't sleep. The air felt poisoned with paranoia. Every car passing by sounded like the cops returning. Every creak from the mailbox outside sounded like her. Back again. Watching. Waiting. I checked the cameras I installed. Nothing. Just darkness. But around 2 a.m., I saw it. A shadow crossing the yard. Slow. Deliberate. Someone stood by my mailbox again. Then left something inside. When morning came, I went out there, heart pounding like a drum. Inside the mailbox was a single envelope. No stamp. No name. Just one word written in red ink. Thief. I tore it open, and a photo slid out. A picture of my house, taken last night. From the sidewalk, I felt cold all over. She wasn't done, not even close. And for the first time since this all began, I started to wonder, what if she wasn't just crazy? What if she had a reason for everything she did? I couldn't shake the feeling that someone was watching me. Not just Karen, someone else. Every time I looked out the window, I caught faint movements in the corner of my curtains shifting, a flash of light reflecting off a lens. It wasn't paranoia anymore, it was presence. The photo in the envelope haunted me. Who took it? Why'd? Karen couldn't have. She was in the hospital, unless someone was helping her. The thought sent a chill down my spine. My name's Mark, in case you forgot. And this was the first time I realized the story wasn't just between me and her. I spent the next morning checking every inch of my yard. I found footprints in the damp grass leading from the sidewalk straight to my mailbox, too big to be hers. Someone else had been there that night, someone who wanted me to see. Coming up, I'll tell you what I found buried under my mailbox. But first, I need to explain why I started digging in the first place. It started with the cameras. When I reviewed the footage again, I noticed something odd. Around 2:13 a.m., a figure appeared, tall, hooded, standing completely still near the hedge. Not Karen. Not any neighbor I knew. And they weren't stealing anything. They were placing something. The next morning, I went outside with a shovel. The neighbors already thought I was crazy. I didn't care. The soil under the mailbox was soft, recently disturbed. I dug maybe 2 feet down before I hit something solid, a small black box wrapped and taped. My heart was hammering. I pulled it out, peeled the tape away, and froze. Inside was a tiny wireless camera, hidden, pointed straight up at where my mail went in. Someone had been recording me. For how long? I ran inside, slammed the door, and locked it. My hands were shaking so hard, I dropped the camera twice before getting it to power on. The last few files were still saved. I watched them in silence. The videos showed my mailbox, day after day. But then, one clip made my stomach twist. Karen, 2 nights before the incident, opening my box, slipping something in, a small folded piece of paper. The next video showed me, the night before the accident, setting the trap. And the last one was from the morning it happened. It didn't show her hand going in. It showed someone else's hand, gloved, opening the box before dawn. Then a cut. Then static. Coming up, the person who planted that camera was someone I never suspected. I didn't sleep for 36 hours. My mind wouldn't stop racing. Karen wasn't just a nosy neighbor. She was part of something bigger. Or maybe she stumbled into something she didn't understand. Either way, I was trapped between 2 lies, hers and mine. The next day, a car I didn't recognize was parked across the street. Black sedan, tinted windows. It didn't move for hours. What actually worked up the nerve to walk over? It was gone. Just gone. Then, that night, another envelope appeared. This one slid under my door. Inside, another photo, a close-up of my mailbox. And underneath it, the words written in marker. She wasn't the only one watching. My blood turned cold. Who else was out there? Who knew? And what were they after? I called the police. Again, they didn't care. Mr. Miller, the officer said, "You're not the only one getting weird mail in that neighborhood." His voice carried a strange tone, not disbelief, but exhaustion, like he knew more than he could say. So I decided to go to the source, the HOA office. The next morning, I walked into that sterile little building, all white walls and fake smiles. The receptionist froze when she saw me. "Mr. Miller," she said. "We weren't expecting you." "I'm sure you weren't," I replied. I demanded to see the property records, security files, everything related to my house. At first, they refused. Then I mentioned a lawyer, and suddenly, they found the files. That's when I saw it. A maintenance report dated 3 months before I moved in. It mentioned mailbox surveillance installation for community safety. My mailbox. My property. Coming up, the person who signed that order will shock you. At the bottom of the page was a signature. Karen Blake. The air left my lungs. My head buzzed like a dying light bulb. She'd been spying on me long before the first missing letter. The trap, the finger. It was all part of a war one didn't even know I was fighting. But if she set the first camera, who set the second one? That question ate at me for days. Until I got the final piece, a voicemail from an unknown number. A man's voice, low, calm, saying, "Mark, she found something she wasn't supposed to, and now you did too." The line clicked off. I just stood there, staring at my phone, realizing I was next. After that voicemail, I stopped sleeping altogether. Every shadow looked like a threat. Every nose outside turned into a warning. I kept replaying that voice in my head. Deep, measured, too calm to be random. He knew my name. He knew what I found. And worst of all, he sounded close. I didn't tell the cops this time. What could I even say? That my neighbor lost a finger to a mailbox trap, and now some invisible man was hunting me for finding a hidden camera. They'd lock me up before listening. So I did what anyone with no trust left would do. I started watching back. My name's Mark. Yeah, the same guy who just wanted a quiet house and a little peace. Now I was rigging my place like a bunker. Extra locks. Hidden cameras of my own. Every window taped to check for movement. Coming up, the night I found who'd been watching me. But first, the days leading to it. The neighborhood turned against me fast. The whole board sent letters. Conduct under review. Pending investigation. Possible eviction. The irony was almost funny. Karen was still in the hospital, posting her sob stories. Oh my. My neighbor attacked me. No justice in this community. Thousands of views, sympathy, donations. She was winning. But I knew she wasn't the one pulling strings anymore. Someone else wanted both of us quiet. One night, I got home from work. Ken noticed my front door slightly open, just a few inches. My stomach dropped. The air inside was still, like the house itself was holding its breath. I stepped in slow, heart pounding so hard it hurt. Nothing looked touched. Until I saw the table. In the center sat my mousetrap. The same one, clean, polished, and underneath it, another letter. The note was short. She's not lying, but she's not innocent either. That's when it hit me. Maybe Karen wasn't just stealing mail. Maybe she was trying to protect something, or someone. I turned the house upside down, looking for more. Drawers, vents, under the floorboards, and in the crawl space, taped to a beam, I found a small flash drive. No label, no dust. Someone had put it there recently. Coming up, what was on that drive changed everything. The footage on the drive showed the HOA office. Same sterile walls, same fake smiles. Except this time, it was night. Karen was there, arguing with a man I didn't recognize. Tall, bald, expensive suit. He wasn't from the neighborhood. His voice was the same as the one from the voicemail. "You shouldn't have recorded me," he said. Karen's voice trembled. "You said it was for security." "I didn't know." He cut her off. "You knew enough." Then he took the camera from her hand, looked straight into the lens, and smiled. The kind of smile that didn't reach the eyes. "And if anyone else finds this, they'll wish they hadn't." The video ended there. I sat in the dark for a long time, listening to the sound of my own breath. So this wasn't just HOA paranoia. It was something bigger. Money, corruption, control. Maybe surveillance for blackmail. Maybe worse. I didn't know what they wanted, but I knew one thing. They wanted me quiet. That night, I packed a bag, flashlight, water, the flash drive, and a spare key. I wasn't running. Not yet. I was hunting. Coming up, what I found in Karen's backyard that night will make your skin crawl. I waited until 2 a.m. The street was dead silent, except for the hum of a distant street light. I crossed the lawn, climbed the hedge, and slipped into her yard. Her house was dark, curtains drawn. I moved toward her back porch. Slow, steady. That's when I saw it. A small wooden box buried halfway under the porch, with wires running out the back. Same black tape as the camera I found before. My pulse exploded. I pulled it open. Inside were dozens of photos of everyone in the neighborhood. Every house, every mailbox. Karen had been keeping records, not for curiosity, but for evidence. And then I heard the sound. Behind me. Gravel crunching under a boot. I turned. Someone was standing by the fence, tall, motionless, a shadow against the streetlight. The same man from the video. He said nothing. Just tilted his head, like studying me. Then, calmly, "You really should have stayed out of this, Mark." Before I could move, he was gone, melting into the dark like he'd never been there. I ran back inside my house, heart slamming, door locked, curtains closed. For the first time, I realized this wasn't about Karen anymore. We were both pawns, and whatever game was being played here, it wasn't over. The next morning, I got another letter. No return address, just one line. "Now you've both made your choice." It felt wrong, calling her. My hand hovered over the phone for nearly an hour. My mind replayed her screams, the blood, the chaos. But every time I hesitated, I saw that man's face again. The one from the footage, calm, confident, untouchable. I realized if I didn't act now, neither of us would survive whatever this was. So I called her. "Karen, it's me." There was silence, then a sharp inhale. "You've got nerve, Mark," she said. Her voice was cold but tired, weaker than I remembered. "You think I want to talk to the guy who ruined my hand? You think I wanted this?" I snapped. "You were spying on me, remember? Not on you," she said quietly. "On them. My name's Mark." And that was the moment I realized how deep the rot went. Karen agreed to meet. Neutral ground, the park near the HOA office. Broad daylight, cameras everywhere. Safety and exposure. When she arrived, she looked different, pale, haunted, bandage hand tucked under her sleeve. Not the nosy neighbor anymore. Just a woman who'd seen too much. Coming up, the secret she revealed about the HOA will blow your mind. She sat down across from me, eyes darting around. "They're listening," she whispered. "Even here." "Who?" I asked. She leaned closer. "Richard, the HOA president. He's not just running the board. He's running a data operation, selling surveillance feeds, our cameras, our mail, everything. 2 private buyers. I found proof. My skin went cold. That's impossible. I thought so too, she said, her eyes glassy, until I saw the invoices. Thousands of dollars in community security fees paid to shell companies. And the man in the video, she swallowed. He's one of the buyers. The pieces started clicking together like a nightmare snapping into focus. The cameras, the files, the black sedan. It all made sense. The HOA wasn't protecting us. It was watching us, selling our lives to whoever paid most. Karen looked at me, eyes trembling. I tried to expose it. That's why I was checking the mail. They were sending documents through HOA letters. Proof. I thought if I could grab them first. She trailed off. The shame in her voice said everything. Coming up. When we broke into the HOA office that night, nothing could have prepared us for what we found. I didn't want to trust her. Every instinct screamed not to, but the fear in her eyes was real. And when fear meets fear, trust becomes survival. We planned it carefully. Midnight, no alarms. I'd cut the power at the breaker behind the maintenance shed. She still had a key from when she volunteered as a community officer. We'd get in, grab the files, get out. Simple, clean. Except nothing in this story ever stayed clean. That night, rain poured like the sky wanted to drown the truth itself. We moved fast, quiet, soaked to the bone. The HOA building was empty. Dim red lights from backup power humming through the halls. Every step echoed. Every heartbeat was a drum. We reached the records room. Karen pulled the key from her pocket, trembling. Once this door opens, she whispered, there's no going back. I crossed that line weeks ago, I said. She turned the key. The door creaked open, and the smell hit first. Dust, mold, and something metallic. Inside were boxes, stacks of folders, old hard drives, names, addresses. Every resident in the neighborhood. Each file had photos, bank records, private info, even therapy notes. They knew everything about everyone. Karen grabbed a folder marked Miller. Mark. My stomach dropped. Inside was everything. My job records, phone logs, even a transcript of my last police call. They were inside my life long before I moved in. Then we heard it. A voice, deep, calm, familiar. Step away from the files. We turned. It was him, the man from the video. The man who warned me. He wasn't alone. 2 more men behind him, all in black, wearing gloves. Karen froze. You can't hide this anymore. He smiled. Who said we were hiding? I lunged forward, grabbing one of the metal filing rods and swinging. It hit the light switch. The room went dark. Shouts. Chaos. A crash. Then gunfire. Coming up. Who got hit that night will change everything. I remember the flash, the sound. Karen screaming my name. Then silence. My ears rang. My vision blurred. When the lights came back, she was on the ground, clutching her shoulder. The men were gone. The files, gone too. But one folder remained. Hers. I knelt beside her, pressing my hand against the wound. You'll be okay, I lie. Her eyes met mine. Finish it, she whispered. Don't let them win. Then she passed out. I called for help, but by the time the sirens came, she was already gone. Not dead, but taken. Vanished from the ambulance halfway to the hospital. They made her disappear. And now, they were coming for me. When I woke up the next morning, I didn't know what was real anymore. My head was pounding. My shirt still smelled of rain and gunpowder. I checked my phone. 37 missed calls, none of them from numbers I recognized. Every window in my house had condensation, like someone had been breathing against the glass from the outside. And then I noticed something worse. My security cameras were gone. Not broken. Not stolen. Just disconnected. Wires cleanly cut. No feed. No sound. Nothing. My name is Mark, and at that moment, I realized I wasn't being paranoid anymore. I was being hunted. Coming up. What I found on my laptop that morning will haunt me forever. I opened my computer. It booted, but there was a new folder on the desktop. Do not delete. My stomach dropped. I didn't create that. I opened it, and there she was, Karen, in a hospital gown, sedated, eyes wide open but unfocused. Behind her, through the window, I saw that same HOA logo, the same place she used to work. Someone was showing me they had her. Every few seconds, text appeared over the footage, line by line. like someone typing live. You should have stayed quiet. You're next. Then, the file auto-deleted. My laptop screen went black. Then a new window opened. Live feed from my own bedroom camera. Except, again, I had no cameras anymore. I turned around, and there it was. A tiny black dot above the curtain rod. A new camera. Someone had replaced mine. That's when I understood. The HOA wasn't watching us anymore. They were inside. I ripped it out, smashed it against the floor, grabbed my car keys, and ran. The morning light felt fake, like I'd stepped into a movie set. Neighbors were out watering lawns, walking dogs, waving. Ordinary suburbia, but every smile looked forced. Every glance lasted a second too long. I got into my car and started driving. No destination, just away. But halfway down Oak Ridge Avenue, I saw her house, Karen's. It was sealed off with yellow tape. Two black SUVs parked out front. Men in suits carrying boxes out of her garage. Coming up, what was inside Karen's house will flit everything you think you know about the HOA. I parked 3 streets down and went on foot. Slipped through a side fence, ducked into her backyard. The air smelled like bleach. Her back door was ajar. No one even tried to lock it. Inside, everything was stripped, furniture gone, walls bare, even the floorboards pulled up, like they erased her existence. But they missed one thing. Under the sink, taped behind the pipes, I found a flash drive in a waterproof pouch, black and marked. My hands were shaking so bad I almost dropped it. I drove to an abandoned gas station, the only place with no cameras, and plugged it into my laptop. There were hundreds of files, documents, photos, videos, meetings, all titled with dates and HOA codes. The first video opened with the same man who'd broken into the records room. The buyer. He was standing in front of a projector, presenting to a room of board members. Behind him, maps of the neighborhood, red dots marking every house. This is phase 3, he said. By next quarter, full integration. Every resident's behavior logged. Purchases, mail, calls. Predictive tracking will allow us to sell consumer profiles to our clients. My throat tightened. They weren't just selling surveillance. They were selling us. Then, my address popped up on the map, marked as flagged. The room erupted in murmurs. Someone asked, "What about the subject?" The man smiled. He'll silence himself soon enough. That's when I heard it. Footsteps behind me. I slammed the laptop shut. The sound echoed through the empty gas station. I turned slowly. A man in a black jacket stood in the doorway. No gun, no badge, no words. Just staring. I ran out the back, cutting through the alley. My car engine screamed as I hit the highway, not daring to look in the mirror. I drove until the city lights disappeared, until the GPS lost signal. Coming up, where I hid next, I discovered the one place the HOA couldn't reach me, or so I thought. I found an old cabin up north, near a frozen lake. No Wi-Fi, no cameras, no neighbors. Just wind and silence. For the first time in weeks, I slept, dreamless. But peace doesn't last. When I woke up, there was a letter on my doorstep. No footprints in the snow leading up to it. Just the envelope, my name written in red ink. Inside was a photo of me, sleeping in the cabin. And on the back, a single word. Run. I dropped it, heart hammering. Outside, I heard an engine start. They had found me. Again, I grabbed my backpack, laptop, and the flash drive, the only proof left. As I ran through the woods, I realized something chilling. This wasn't about privacy anymore. It was about control. The HOA didn't just want to watch. They wanted to own. And the only person who could still expose them was me. I knew hiding wasn't enough. They had eyes everywhere. And if I stayed silent, Karen and everyone else would disappear into their system. My name's Mark, and at that moment I made a choice. Fight back or die trapped in their game. Coming up, how I started my counterattack will shock you. I grabbed the flash drive Karen left. It had everything. Invoices, camera locations, contracts, even usernames and passwords. They didn't think anyone would ever see it. I did, and I planned to make them regret it. I set up a small makeshift office in a rented storage unit. Laptops, hotspots, external drives, no internet trace from my real location. I started decoding the files. It wasn't easy. Firewalls, encryption, obfuscation. But every hour, every headache, every cold cup of coffee brought me closer. Karen's recordings revealed something I hadn't realized before. The HOA wasn't just selling info, they were manipulating people, blackmailing them, even creating fake incidents to enforce compliance. One wrong move, one missing payment, and you could vanish just like her. I tapped into the live camera feeds, hundreds of them. My pulse raced as I navigated them. I saw familiar faces, neighbors unaware they were being watched. One by one, I recorded evidence, every action, every file, every email. They couldn't delete everything at once. Coming up, the night I went live to the public, I realized I was truly exposed. I made a plan. One video, raw, uncut, live streamed to anyone who would watch. Proof of surveillance, corruption, and abuse. If I succeeded, the world would know. If I failed, well, I'd be the next person to vanish. The night of the broadcast, I double-checked my exit routes. I knew they were watching. I expected an attack, but I also knew that staying quiet was worse than death. I went live. The screen went black for a few seconds, then the flash of my cabin appeared. My voice, shaking but determined, filled the feed. This is Mark Miller. The HOA in my neighborhood is not what it seems. They're spying, manipulating, and endangering lives. I showed everything. Spreadsheets, footage, Karen's files, names, faces, accounts, all proof. Then it happened. The feed went unstable. Static. Shadows moved in the background of my cabin. They were here. They had traced me. I didn't stop. My hands trembled as I clicked upload all files. It was now or never. Every second I hesitated. I risked my life. Coming up, when the man in black arrived at the cabin, I had a choice: stay and fight, or escape with the evidence. I grabbed my laptop, threw the camera's cables over my shoulder, and ran into the woods. Bullets ricocheted off the frozen lake behind me. My breath came in sharp gasps, my boots slipping in ice. Somehow, I made it to the far edge of the forest. My heart was pounding, lungs burning. I sent the final live stream. Notifications pour in immediately. Hundreds, then thousands, then tens of thousands of viewers. People were seeing the truth. They couldn't stop it now. But the worst part, the man in the suit, the one who orchestrated everything, was still out there, watching, calculating, waiting for me to slip. I had the files, the proof, and a shaky chance to expose them. That they had power, resources, and fear on their side. Coming up, what I discovered in the next 24 hours will reveal how deep the corruption ran. The flash drive became my lifeline. Every moment I kept it safe was a victory. Every text, every call, every distant nose made me wonder, who could I trust? By dawn, the world knew. Social media erupted. News outlets picked it up. Comments poured in. Outrage, fear, disbelief. People were finally awake. And yet, I didn't feel safe. Not for a second. I could hear engines in the distance, helicopters above, the faint buzz of drones. They were coming from me. But this time, I wasn't hiding. I was fighting. The day came faster than I expected. My name's Mark, and I never thought I'd willingly walk into the lion's den. But the live feed forced their hand. The HOA's man, the one who orchestrated Karen's disappearance, called me. A simple text: meet me at the old community hall. Alone, midnight, come prepared. I knew it was a trap. I also knew it was my only chance. Coming up, how I confronted him without losing everything. I arrived under the cover of darkness. The hall was abandoned, dusty, windows shattered, doors hanging off hinges. Perfect, silent, too silent. I stepped inside, heart hammering, eyes scanning. Every shadow could hide a gun, a camera, or worse. Then I heard footsteps, slow, deliberate. He appeared in the doorway, tall, bald, expensive suit, smiled sharp as a knife. His eyes didn't move. He studied me like I was a puzzle he already solved. You've been busy, Mark, he said, voice calm, measured. But you're playing a dangerous game. I'm done running, I said, my hands clenched into fists. You took her, my neighbor, my friend. You're done controlling people in my neighborhood. Done. He chuckled. Control is power, and power doesn't die easily. You think exposing a few files will stop me? This goes deeper than your street, deeper than your city. Coming up, the moment I had to make the ultimate choice. He raised a tablet, showing live feeds of my cabin, Karen in a hospital bed, and dozens of other homes. Every move I made, every person I trusted, they could watch. I felt the weight of everything. Karen, my life, the truth. I could strike him, fight physically, but I would lose instantly. Or I could do something even riskier, something he wouldn't expect. I pulled the flash drive from my pocket, waving it like a weapon. "I've uploaded everything," I said, "to every network, every journalist, every law enforcement database I could reach. It's out of your hands." His eyes flickered for a moment, the first sign of surprise I'd seen. "You, what? Every camera out, every contract, every secret," I said. "The world knows. And if you move one step against me or Karen, it's public. You'll disappear like you tried to make her disappear." He took a step forward. "Do you really think it's that simple?" I smiled, cold. "It is. Because you underestimated me, and you underestimated the people watching. Coming up, the consequences of this face-off will shock you." He lunged at me, a sudden, sharp movement. I dodged, barely. A struggle ensued. Metal pipes, tables overturned, the sound of crashing glass. I could feel his strength, his desperation, but he wasn't prepared for my one advantage: knowledge. I knew the building, the exits, the weak points. I maneuvered, pushed him into a trap I'd set earlier, an old storage cage. The door slammed shut behind him, locking automatically. He pounded, shouted, but I stepped back, hands trembling. My chest heaved, adrenaline pumping. I called the authorities, fed them the GPS of the building, and sent out one last lead feed, proof he was inside, trapped. And then I ran, disappearing into the night. I didn't feel victorious. Not yet. I had Karen's files, exposed the HOA, but the cost was high. I realized survival wasn't enough. Justice was the real fight. Coming up, the final chapter, where everything comes together, the aftermath, and the ultimate consequences. I stood in the empty hall. My name is Mark. I could feel the dust under my shoes. Silence tasted like metal. The world had narrowed to a breath. The man in the suit was trapped behind iron mesh. He pounded and cursed. His voice echoed like a broken radio. I watched him through the bars. I thought I had won a shape of a victory, but control is a many-headed thing. It slithers back when you think it is dead. I had the files. I had the uploads. I had the witnesses all mine. I had the proof. And still the night felt thin. I thought about Karen. Her bandaged hand. Her whispered plea. "Finish it," she said. I had tried. I had tried to finish it clean. Justice on a screen. Truth in public view. But truth is loud and lonely. People watched. People clicked. They screamed into comment threads. They shared outrage and then moved on. I sat down. My hands trembled. I spoke then. A quiet thing. A short confession. I did what I thought was right. My voice sounded small. It did not echo. It hit the floor and died. I thought about the mailbox. I thought about the trap. I thought about the red smear. I thought about how easy it felt at first. How sweet the taste of balance. How wrong I was to think a trap could fix a war. I thought about the man with the calm voice. I thought about the files burned into my mind. I thought about the black SUVs. I thought about the faces that watched from windows. I thought about silence in hospital rooms. I thought about the nights I slept with the light on. I thought about who I had become. I thought about what justice costs. I thought about what vengeance takes. I looked at the man behind the match. He looked back with a soft smile. It was a smile without mercy. It was a smile that had bought more than cameras. It had bought fear. It had bought people who obeyed without asking. He mouthed one word. No sound. Someone else in the room heard it. Someone laughed softly. It broke the shape of the air. I stood up. I walked toward the exit. My breath clouded the doorway. Outside, cameras blinked like small dead stars. They recorded me. They recorded everything. I thought of leaving. I thought of running. 100 plans spilled through my head. None felt honest. The man behind the mesh kept smiling. His hands had been tied to nothing now. He still had the world. A thin vibration ran through the floor. It was faint at first, then louder. A hum. Like a machine waking. Like something underground turning over. The lights flickered. My heart hammered. I moved faster. The doors groaned as I pushed them open. Cold air hit my face. I stepped out into the night. The street was empty. The sky was a low, angry black. I could hear nothing. Then, from somewhere deep and sudden, a sound. Not a shout. Not a gun. Not a scream. A single clean nose. A crack that was too small to be explained. Everything went white. For a second, nothing was visible. Then heat and light and a sharp wind. I fell. I tasted salt. I tasted metal. My ears rang with an impossible silence. Hands grabbed me. Strong hands. Gentle hands. My body was heavy and slow. I looked up. The sky was still there. So was the street. So were the lights. But something had changed. The air felt older. The world felt less certain. My phone was gone. The flash drive was gone. The files were gone. The man behind the mesh was gone. His cage stood empty. A smear marked the floor where he had been. I could not find Karen. I could not find myself. Someone whispered my name. I tried to answer. My voice failed. I lay back. I looked at the ceiling of the hall. It looked like a sky I did not know. I thought of the people who watched on my. I thought of every face I had trusted. I thought of small acts that become avalanches. I thought of the trapped pan, what it taught me. I breathed, slow, tight. I began to laugh. It was a small, sudden sound. Not joyful, not bitter, just a noise. It startled the hands that held me. They tightened. Someone said, very close to my ear, a question. They said, "What will you do now?" I tried to answer. My lips moved. No sound came. The hall shuddered. Glass tinkled in the distance. A clock somewhere stopped. A dog barked once. And then,